Welcome, friends and peppy popes, to another kick-ass episode of the InfoHazard Podcast Show. I'm your host, David, joined by my co-hosts, Phil and Danny.
Hello.
Salutations.
How's it going? I'm great. Danny, what's new and interesting?
Two nuclear powers are fighting each other.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting.
That is
right
exciting.
into it, huh?
Yeah, I mean, after all, we are like the InfoHazard podcast, so I was thinking about this particular InfoHazard, which is thinking about nuclear war, which, is kind of like an info hazard, because the more you learn about it, like, the more worried you get, but you can't really, like, do anything about it if you're just some guy, not an influential podcast host like us.
Right, yeah. It's an info hazard to most people, but not us, because we wield the power of the public.
I'm sure our listeners are all, like, policy influencers, at the highest levels of government.
That's true.
Yeah, and in their dozens, they wield immense power.
So who wins in a nuclear war, Danny?
There's like a big variety of like things that could be nuclear war, right? Like one person could just use like one small nuke on like the battlefield, like Russia and Ukraine or something. Or, that scales all the way up to like the US and Russia firing their nukes all over the place as much as they can.
Cool. Right. And so this is India and Pakistan you're referring to, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See, I read the news.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so two nuclear powers, the worst fighting in at least 30 years, apparently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I got a quote here from our vice president, J.D. Vance, when he was asked about potential U.S. involvement in this. He said, "We're not going to get involved in a war that's fundamentally none of our business."
Wow, if only we could maintain that consistently throughout U.S. history.
Right?
It seems to make sense in this case.
You did follow up with something that I think is critical. We're concerned anytime nuclear powers collide and have a major conflict. Yeah, dog. That seems... Yeah.
Wow. Two sentences from J.D. Vance that didn't make me want to puke.
I know, dude. Surprisingly reasonable. Look at that. We can all agree that we don't want a nuclear war. All right, that's good. Glad we can agree on that at least.
Yeah. It's like, it's reasonable, but, like, I fundamentally distrust him, and so him saying something reasonable kind of puts me on edge.
Wait, when's the other shoe gonna drop?
I mean, if he doesn't say something reasonable, then how's he gonna just completely contradict himself whenever Donald Trump suggests that he should do so?
Yes, true. Yeah, it's like yin and yang. He must create his own light to be the shadow he truly desires to be.
Do we feel like, I mean, India is sort of very independent in its way, but they're kind of American aligned, and Pakistan is kind of Chinese aligned. Does this feel like a bit of a proxy thing, at least in terms of like arms sales, right?
Historically, Pakistan has been a stronger U.S. ally than Indian ally, and it kind of shows up a little bit in their weapon suppliers. Like, they recently went to war in the air, right? One of the largest dogfights that's happened in modern times, like 100 plus fighter jets. And, there were Chinese-made fighters on the Pakistan side, but there are like Russian and French and American-made fighters on the Indian side. But, the presence of Russian fighters on the Indian side kind of says a lot about their historical relationship with the U.S. as a military power. They're part of the unaligned movement during the Cold War.
Got it. So you're saying it's not about us. Is that what you're saying?
I'd say, like, we're involved, like an F-16 got shot down by a Chinese-made 4.5 generation fighter on the Pakistani side.
I heard five Indian jets got shot down, I heard.
Yeah, 5 and then about 3 on the Pakistani side. The interesting thing about the fight is that the wreckages they found, the Indian wreckages, were in Indian territory. Like, these dogfights are happening beyond visible range.
Right. It's not like X-Wings versus TIE fighters. Right. They're just missiles.
They're not even violating each other's airspace. They're just kind of, like, hovering around and, like, getting a blip on the radar and then firing something off hundreds of miles away. It's
Man, that's no fun.
I know, it's not Top Gun. It's not exactly cinematic.
Since we were talking about the U.S. and, India, Pakistan, back in the, when Bangladesh was, breaking away from Pakistan, the U.S. intervened on the side of Pakistan to some extent and refused to condemn all their genociding.
Yep.
When was that?
Good old Henry Kissinger.
Yeah, Kissinger and Nixon days, early 1970s, late 1960s.
Yeah, add that to siding with the Khmer Rouge on their list of big policy wins.
Yeah, these guys had excellent taste.
Yeah.
Anyone who's not a communist, I guess, no matter what they do or who they kill.
Yeah, Sukarno, A+ dudes. Never mind the 500,000 people they killed.
Okay, so when was that? When was the dog fight? How was that? Was that today? That was a couple days ago,
Pretty
right?
recently, as of recording. I think it was. We're recording on a Friday because we love our mommies, and
That's
we don't
right.
want to record on Mother's Day. So,
In
little peek
honor of
behind the
mothers.
curtain. Yeah, the dogfight occurred as part of something called Operation Sindor, which was a retaliatory strike by the Indian government. On April 22nd, there was a terrorist attack in Kashmir, which is that territory that they've been fighting about since partition up in the north. They both maintain territory claims to it, and they've been fighting on and off since they became countries, mostly about Kashmir, mostly started by some terrorist attack of some kind, and this is no different. It's a long and rich tradition, you could say.
And I wonder what it's like to be a person who's just like those bastard tourists, you're the bastard Indians with the border here versus there. Let's go kill a bunch of tourists. Hard for me to understand that mindset. I'm not big into borders.
We don't have to work too hard on that front. I think we can just let that be a mystery. I don't know. Do we have to put ourselves in that mindset? That seems like a bad mindset to be in.
Oh yeah, I don't think I'm gonna get there. It's as I approach it, it's just there's no path there. That's what I'm saying.
Sure. It's like the final frontier of both sidesism.
Exactly. Okay, so what I was trying to get at is, so that was end of April was the terrorist attack. So they're just kind of slow burn here, or is this going? What's the trend?
So the initial response is obviously get the guys. There's terrorist attackers in Kashmir, go hunt them down, right?
That makes sense.
And then I had a quote here from Prime Minister Modi that he was under immense pressure for further retaliation. My read on the situation is they're trying to not have a nuclear war, but also not make it seem like this sort of thing is the type of thing you can get away with, which is a tricky balance to be seen as fighting these terrorist cells. They have to, that they're sending drones and missiles into Pakistani territory, violating their sovereignty. So the Pakistanis, who don't claim these guys, the terrorists, they don't claim them as part of their military. A lively debate going on at the moment, who's really responsible for all this. They don't claim them officially. They see these fighter jets go and shoot missiles over the border, so they scramble their jets to go fight those guys, and they're getting bombed with drones. And then so it's okay, what are we gonna do? They send mortars and artillery firing into Kashmir. So it's escalating. It's a scary thing.
But one of the things I was reading about nuclear war was this guy identified 74 times so far that the world got at least partway to nuclear war.
I mean,
sort of an
Partway?
arbitrary definition, I guess, but
meaning they elevated the readiness level of people who could actually launch nukes to they told somebody, okay, be ready, like that.
he didn't give us definition. It might have if you clicked on the full scientific paper and had access to it, but
The paywall strikes again.
Is that I wonder, because there's kind of two categories that I've heard of when it comes to we almost nuke the world kind of situations. One is Cuban Missile Crisis, right? You've got two powers, Soviet Union and USA, and they're mad about something, in this case, Cuba getting armed with missiles, and they're having some fight over it. A diplomatic fight, armed fight, whatever. But then there's also the second category of like, oops, I pressed the button, and that happens kind of a lot. Like that there was that Soviet submarine that got a false alarm of a nuclear launch, and basically like one guy wouldn't turn his key.
I was reading up about this. So this is your Vasily Arkhipov.
Oh,
and
yes.
It was during the Cuban Missile Crisis. They were in a nuclear-armed submarine, and the U.S. was dropping depth charges on them. So the captain thought that war had started, and he wanted to launch nuclear missiles at the U.S. And Vasily Arkhipov refused. And so that's one time that one single Russian guy stood between the world and possible nuclear war. The other one
Funny,
is
I think I'm thinking of a different situation.
Right. Yeah, I know a different one that's just sort of similar.
Yeah, there's one with a guy named Stanislav Petrov in the 80s where they mistook a scientific launch as like a real missile launch,
Yep.
and they thought the U.S. had launched 5 nuclear missiles at them, and he also went against orders and refused to launch because he thought it was unlikely that the U.S. would just randomly launch missiles like that, and also not only 5.
Nukes don't really make sense.
Remember when Hawaii got that nuclear launch warning, and it was because someone put the training VHS in and like that's like how old our nuclear warning systems are. That it was just like, oops, wrong tape. We alerted the public to nuclear war.
I mean, we've all spent time in a town that maintains America's nuclear arsenal. It's kind of interesting how, just like the situations where you would actually want to use these things are like basically never. And so like, why the hell do we have these things? I've heard one possible consequence of all of Trump's sort of abandoning America's allies is that, if we're seen as an unreliable partner, then countries will feel a need to build their own nukes.
Yeah, when Ukraine gave up their nukes, the U.S. and Russia promised to keep them from getting invaded. So you can look at how well that's going for them.
Right. Now, if Ukraine had a nuke, if Ukraine had like one nuke and a cruise missile, a real sneaky one, and then they had all these, and they do all these drone attacks, they just attacked Moscow with 500 drones, would they nuke Moscow?
I mean, I don't think that they would survive that. I
Right.
don't know.
Right.
There's something
So
to be
what's
said
the
for
point?
like this being like Putin's war, right? Like you take out Putin, then it's kind of like the motivation goes away. But like if they nuke Moscow, like that would be no holds barred. The
Right, but,
largest
like-
population center in Russia.
That's the point. Is like, how are nukes even? What do they deter here?
Because
So
you don't have like one, you have enough to wipe out the attacker's country. Like no nuclear armed power has fallen to invasion yet, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm like, don't mistake me for making an argument for nuclear weapons. It's a bad idea. Like we have them, right? We made them because we figured out how to, and they seemed like a useful weapon for World War II. And then Pandora's boxes open and everyone starts making their own, and now we have them because other people have them, essentially. Like, they don't serve any purpose other than to serve as a deterrent from getting nuked by other people who have them.
I don't know. I think it serves as like an invasion deterrent. Like if Ukraine was still like nuclear armed, I don't think they'd be invaded like this.
Well, but would they? What would they do with those nukes though if they were invaded like this? You're saying then they would just be nuking the smaller cities. They wouldn't.
I don't know. I mean, it's an unprecedented situation, right? Depends on what you think about the like psychology of the people involved.
So, in the community of people who fear getting vaporized by nuclear weapons, like the India-Pakistan conflict has long been the one, like that people worry about because of all the nuclear armed powers. Like they fight all the time, and their escalation ladder is pretty quick. Islamabad, Lahore, there's like huge cities right on the border of Pakistan and the Indian side as well. Like if a war started and it wasn't the current situation where there's there's still this layer of plausible deniability where it's like, we're not actually attacking military assets on purpose. We're, going after these non-government affiliated cells. Like, they have to maintain that level of deniability. Otherwise, I guess it's on, right? It's just on. Like, no one wants it to be on. Everyone's trying to have it not be on, but it's, like, really close to being on.
I mean, so do the nukes help prevent this from getting on? I mean, let's not get it on.
I don't know.
Let's not get it on. I've got a nuke.
No, I don't know. Like, it doesn't stop them from fighting and invading each other. They've been doing that. It just puts this sort of end cap where they could just end each other and possibly all life on Earth.
Right. But, like, it just, like, doesn't make sense to, like, actually mount a real invasion. Like, I've heard, like, talk about, okay, China invading Taiwan and the U.S., like, maybe defending them. And it's like, okay, these are two armed to the teeth superpowers going at it over an island. And there's very little, like, utility of using a nuke, like, in the conflict. Like, the boats are pretty spread out. Like, you're just sort of wasting nukes. And, like, right. Okay, what are we gonna, like, bomb Beijing? What is Beijing gonna bomb LA? It does, I guess, it seems like it does deter us from, like, saying, okay, let's say the US wins in the Pacific and then we want to, like, keep going into China. Well, they're armed to the teeth with nukes. Like, they're, like, if we actually are invading them, then they would bomb LA.
Yeah, it feels against the spirit of this show to not want to speculate on this, because this is just like the ultimate armchair expert sort of project that we've embarked on, Both invasion scenarios seem insane. Somehow more insane than the other one. I don't know. Like, they're simultaneously more insane than each other. Like, a U.S. invasion of the Chinese mainland would be insane. A Chinese invasion of the U.S. mainland would be insane.
With or without nukes, right? Like, it would be insane. I mean, just like, how could we ever bring enough military to that location to compete with whatever they can bring to that location?
Yeah. Either side would have to cross the Pacific, I guess both sides have, like, aircraft carriers and, like, navies patrolling around, right? Like, it wouldn't be, Fort Bragg gets mobilized and everyone goes from, the U.S. and, like, takes boats and gets there immediately. The first fighting would happen by, like, the forces in the area.
But, right, and the U.S. has lots of military in Korea and Japan, and we have carrier groups out there in Australia. And anyway, yeah, not
bases
fun.
all over the world.
Yeah. So, okay, so who? So I guess both sides are right now trying to look tough, and then trying to satisfy the whoever it is that needs to be satisfied domestically, that they went and they kicked some ass, and then it'll calm down.
I mean, that was kind of what it comes down to for me. I'd say it comes down to the mood of the people. Can the, like, cooler heads prevail? And I don't know. My city hasn't been shelled with mortars before. I don't really know how I would feel in that situation. Bad, I imagine. Pretty bad. I can't really get in the head of these people, but I did the next best thing, and I looked at the Reddit comments. So this is a good example of the mood over at r/India Speaks. It's got about 1 million users, and they're not taking it too well over there. This right here is a video of a guy who allegedly provided food and shelter to the terrorists, and there's a video of him drowning in a river when he was, like, running away. And the comments are like, bye-bye, this will be the end of every terrorist.
He should have suffered
good.
more.
While drowning, the army should have shot him just to make sure. Oh my god.
Yikes. I mean, this is the comment. Well, actually, this reminds me. People should comment on our videos.
But hopefully not calls for violence. We don't like that.
No,
are you enjoying the show? Comment with "Karma is a bitch" on YouTube or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. Man, dude, dirtied the water. Save the government. Okay. Well, we're gonna move on.
I mean, this is the guy who gave food and shelter.
Yeah, this is a guy running away from the army, because because he was suspected of helping the terrorists, and this is video of him drowning in a river, and people are not exactly
Pretty
sympathetic
pumped.
to his plight.
To be fair, if you went and you looked at like comments about Osama bin Laden from Americans, like how different do you think they would be?
Oh my god, that's exactly what it reminded me of. This is like post 9/11 America in a nutshell. Like everything going on in this comment section. I was going to show a Pakistani equivalent on r/Pakistan, but it basically just like a little bit too close to hate speech for my taste, so I'm gonna go ahead and skip it. Suffice to say that people on both sides of the border are pretty mad right now, but should also say that, like, while there's jingoism in the air, like some of it is at least a little bit more reasonable, more I don't know, low key. This video of these women here, like colonels, I think, in the Indian military. They're saying the terrorists spared women, but India's women will not spare them. Comments down here are very much in the girl boss kind of mode right now. Narrative building has been top notch in this OP. Right from the naming to choosing women military officers to present the news, and choosing Hindu, Sikh, and Muslim officer, citing actual videos with specific details, everything. I don't know. I mean, still kind of cheering on the war, but I don't know why I initially felt positive about this. Someone help me out.
I mean, it's a little. It's like a kumbaya, let's go kick their ass, like all at once kind of thing.
Rally around the flag.
Yeah, I guess it kind of reminds me of like American liberals.
With the we all love George Bush now after 9/11.
No, I just like taking this moment to get on side with the war, but through the lens of identity politics. Yeah, the more I think about it, the less I like it. Let's move on to like.
It's pretty yucky, right? It's pretty gross.
Yeah,
it's propaganda.
It's propaganda, and like people are on here just kind of praising the effectiveness of the propaganda.
It's woke warmongering propaganda, which is
it is woke warmongering propaganda. That's a great way of putting it.
An interesting combination. You have fine taste in propaganda, Phil. Thank you for that morsel.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to end on a nicer note. I had an example, but it got taken down by the mods at r/Pakistan. So apparently the mods at r/Pakistan are not feeling so positive. But here's a nice one. Let's pray the civilians are safe, even in India.
Even in India.
I hope this retaliation doesn't affect any person, whether Hindu, Muslim, or Sikh, or any other sect religion. Not sure if the neighbors would hope the same for us, but let's pray to Allah Almighty. No parent loses a child and vice versa. Ameen.
Ameen.
So if everyone had that attitude, they could just skip the whole war then.
Well, no. Because they're talking about innocent people.
I don't know. It does say, let's hope it doesn't affect any person, you know?
Mm-hmm. Wait. But the title is, the headline is, let's pray civilians are safe.
It's true. I guess it's like a, let's pray, like...
Man, in this like, age of AI and robotics, surely we can have wars where no one gets hurt, right? We can just have the robots duke it out.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're headed that way. I mean, we're seeing this in Ukraine. Like, I mean, obviously, lots of people getting hurt, but we see lots of
the robots are killing people.
Yeah, but they're also killing each other, and there's a lot more robots on the front lines than ever before. I feel like the natural extension is just like the two country industrial bases are just sort of throwing robots at each other until one group of robots.
You're saying that like a Discovery TV show with the like robot fight was like, the forerunner to the War of the Future? Yeah, BattleBots.
Yes. Yeah, but probably the future is not going to be quite as cool as BattleBots.
I went into that like kind of wanting to get a better idea of how people were feeling, and I didn't exactly end up feeling reassured, I'll say.
Just pretend that anyone you don't like is a bot.
Yeah, dead internet theory.
Yeah, I mean, looking to the internet comments for assurance, I gotta say, Phil, maybe you should have known better. Most people are probably not commenting on the internet in English, right?
Are you saying I could have done a little bit more diligent research than just
No,
looking
never.
for the English-speaking community of these two countries? Yeah, I could have.
Yeah, I guess.
We're gentlemen hobbyists. I did a gentleman hobbyist level of research.
Well, I hope all of the drones can kill the other drones, and then it'll create jobs for drone repair men and women. And India, Pakistan, you both look very tough. Good job. Probably we should chill out now. It's been a good skirmish. It's been a good one.
You know what else? I didn't come up with anything like how the U.S. could help in any way. I feel like we can't, and especially with like our current leadership, we like super should back off. Let someone
All we can do is make things
more
worse.
experienced handle it.
Wait, now, what could the U.S. do that would make things worse, though?
Now you're talking. Now we're infoing some hazards.
We just go in there and start fighting anyone who's shooting at anyone else.
Oh, there you go. I mean,
Make it a three-way war, dude. The first major three-cornered conflict.
it's just like Settlers of Catan. I hate it. Then my mom's gonna win.
I'm gonna get a monopoly on sheep.
But yeah, let's stay out of this one. Okay, so did both of you were basically planning on doing India and Pakistan?
I just was talking about nuclear war in general, basically.
Was there anything else you wanted to talk about with nuclear war in general, Dan?
The only other thing I wanted to mention is the nuclear clock is at 89 seconds to midnight.
What's the nuclear clock?
It's like a group of atomic scientists put out the like how close we are to nuclear apocalypse, with midnight representing the end of the world. Mm-hmm. So they think we're at 89 seconds to midnight. It's like a wild ass guess, but like they try to justify it, make it more fancy. Basically, if you read anything about like how likely is a nuclear war, it's like, okay, first of all, this is unestimatable, but I can't resist the attempt to try. So here's my guess. I think it's 4% in the next 6 months. So my question is for you is, what are the odds, do you think, that you will see a nuclear weapon used to kill one person in anger during your life?
Kill one person? Seems
at least
like
one person.
Overkill.
At least one person. I just it's not like a demonstration like off the coast or whatever.
Okay, like not a test, like intentionally killing a person.
At least, yeah.
So like nuclear war.
I mean, it could just be like a small exchange or like, on the battlefield. It doesn't have to be like full scale nuclear eradication of the whole human race.
Right, like a tactical nuke counts.
Yes.
When we were kids, I got into an argument with my dad because of something Danny told me. He said, I was telling my dad, who worked at a nuclear facility, like, no, it's true. Danny told me there's nuclear pistols. He's really smart. I believe him.
Well, I hope you learned your lesson.
Apparently not. We're
he
doing
did.
this now.
He learned that nuclear pistols are real, and that's the lesson that he held on to. Probably in our lifetime, probably. I got a long time left to live. Well, let's see. Nukes have been around since 1940. Has this already? Okay, other than Hiroshima and Nagasaki, has this happened?
I don't think so, right?
Nope, not once. Not once in anger. After whichever, fat man or little boy.
As soon as more than one country had them, they stopped getting used.
It seems pretty likely to me that this is going to happen. Yeah, in my lifetime.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like 80%.
It's kind of a miracle that it hasn't happened yet, or it's only happened twice so far.
Right. I mean, not to like nitpick whatever, to look for loopholes in the question, Danny, but you said like how many will we see in our lives? So you're sort of assuming that we're not being killed by this nuclear bomb.
I would count that as like seeing it. You may not consciously register it.
Okay. All right.
The effects of the nuclear weapon will be obvious to you.
Yeah, probably going to happen. And probably not going to be I would also guess that it's just not at all going to be the end of the world, Like, I could see, any of this, like, anywhere along the line between NATO and Russia, you could see it happening and cooling off some. Or in India, Pakistan, you could see it happening and then cooling off some.
But, like, even if there's a large-scale nuclear exchange, like a nuclear winter is not, like, settled science. Like, it's not clear that it will, like, start enough fires to, like, emit enough smoke to, reduce the amount of sunlight enough.
Yeah, it's just one of the scenarios, though. If there's a nuclear exchange, there's the nuclear winter where it kicks up enough like dust into the atmosphere that it like causes like an ice age, kind of like certain volcanic eruptions have in the past.
And then we all have to circle the globe on a train, right?
Yeah.
That is the next logical thing in that scenario.
So practical.
Yeah. There's also just like the firestorm potential, like Like when the asteroid hit the Earth that killed the dinosaurs, there's like a layer of ash all over the planet, and the theory is that that's from the atmosphere igniting, that there was just firestorms all over the Earth that incinerated everything on the surface, like almost everything, because there's still animals around, right? Didn't get everything.
I read one time that that asteroid was so big that when the big front of it was hitting the Earth, the back of it was still outside the atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean it was pretty big. It's like the size of like a state, basically.
So what are the chances that Earth is hit by a massive meteor, like an extinction level event during our lives?
I think it's pretty low, right? This one is much more
Yeah.
like calculable than nuclear weapons, because it's just about
Yeah.
like, you know, density of asteroids in the solar system, basically.
Physics, not people. 'Cause people have got soul spunk. You can't do math on soul spunk. We're not made out of atoms.
Yeah, I mean, there's only the one that we have evidence for. As long as life has existed, we suspect that that's the only mass extinction event caused by an asteroid that size. So I don't know, but the nuclear winter thing, I'm just gonna go ahead and agree that it's fairly likely within our lifetime. I don't think I ever said my
Nuclear
answer.
weapons or nuclear winter?
I don't know how likely I think nuclear winter is. I think not as likely as there being some nuke blown up somewhere.
Right, like North Korea might just like send off a nuke at some point, and then like maybe there would be nuclear retaliation, maybe not. Seems unnecessary, and then there would not be nuclear winter.
Yeah. I think it's maybe kind of easy to fall into this domino theory kind of thinking, where like this thing, like you can think of a possible consequence and then it kind of gets solidified in your mind as the thing that will definitely happen. But there's always this motivation to pull things back. Like now in this contest between India and Pakistan, they're fighting and things are escalating, but like everyone on both sides is still trying to pull things back. You know, trying to keep some level of calm.
Right, and like both of those cases with like the Russian like people who were like who thought that, you know, who received an order to send the nukes and refused to do it. Like that seems like basically how it would go. It seems pretty unlikely to have the two people are going to be like, yeah, the answer is nukes. Let's send a nuke to go blow up right now. You could get one person to think that, like while they're like really freaking out, or if they are like mentally ill, but the other person is going to be like, come on, like let's not do that.
I mean, there are some people who think it will like never happen because of the human factor. Like, so these are like, you know, two guys who like their whole training is like, you know, follow the order, turn the key, and even in that circumstance, like they still weren't willing to launch the nukes. But I don't know, that seems a little like too hopeful to me. Like people are like shoot up schools full of little kids, right? Like you're telling me one of those guys wouldn't
Yeah,
push
but I'm
the button
saying
if they
two.
were in that circumstance.
Well, so I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I think it's more likely to happen. But I am saying, like, I think that getting two people to agree to do this seems like two very unlikely things happening at the same time, which makes it
I
even
don't know.
more
I
unlikely.
hate to break it to you, but there have been school shootings where there's more than one shooter. If we're going off of like Sandy Hook as an example, like there's also the Columbine shooting.
Yeah,
Like
the famous one.
it's like
Right.
like there are situations where there could be two maniacs instead of just one.
That's right, but it's less likely. But also, like, these are not just maniacs, right? Like, these are people who have control over nuclear weapons, right?
Yeah.
So, like, they have undergone some kind of, like, you know, they've held down a job in the military for a couple years. They've passed their military training, probably some psychological screening, you know.
They've been
Like-
fired by Doge
Right?
a couple of times.
They've been
You know,
rehired.
like, we're like a weak point. You know how? Okay, so we talked about this the other week, that there's going to be an American Pope, and then there is one.
Dude, I mean, I'm so sorry we
Called it.
haven't celebrated this yet. Like, can we get like a USA? I was
Chicago Pope this week on TNT.
man.
But
Pope and change.
I just thinking about how the last Pope, they made a lot of hay about like talking about his history, like fighting the corruption in, you know, South America or whatever. And now we have an American Pope, and it's like, aw, now we're the villainous regime that he gets to talk about fighting. We're the example of like the corrupting influence that the church is fighting against.
We made it. We're Rome now, boys.
I was kind of disappointed that because I read his first speech and it was just a bunch of Catholic stuff.
The Pope? I don't believe it, dude.
Just like
Shock.
love and faith and anyway, boring. Come on, man. We got to get him on InfoHazard, right? We'll see if we can pull some strings.
I think it's probably a good thing for any religious leader to not be involved in the sort of like bullshit slinging world of YouTube.
They sling supernatural bullshit.
It's unseemly.
we have 9 subscribers and he has like 1.7 billion followers, so we're basically on the same level.
At any given time, the Pope is the most well-known person on the planet, like one of the most influential people on the planet. But you get named Pope, right? So there's like a curve of influence, right? So like how long do you think it takes for a person to become more influential, like from naming to like being in the office, like than like Walton Goggins, American actor Walton Goggins, like because no one knew about this cardinal before.
I don't know who Walton Goggins is.
Well, he's an actor from The Righteous Gemstones and a couple other TV projects. Okay, well,
Quick Google break.
I knew him and I didn't know this
Goggins?
cardinal.
Okay, I've seen this person. All right,
See?
good.
It's probably not really a curve so much as it is like a great discontinuity. He gets announced outside and then he's, almost instantly more
I think
recognizable.
it is a curve though, because like people like take however long they take to check their phones or check the news. Like how many like minutes or hours? I would put it around like half an hour from getting named Pope. It take like for more people to know about you than Walton Goggins, and then it'd probably take like 3 days maybe to get more known than like a K-pop star.
I mean, I guess you could like look them up on Google Trends or something to try to... There's probably some way to try to actually estimate this.
Not good enough. I want the knowledge in people's hearts. So put a sensor in everyone's hearts, and then we'll get the truth serum out of there.
I mean, so like, also though, like, I mean, you saw how much I know Walter Goggins.
Walton.
Walton. This guy's name is unpronounceable. Goggins. Yeah, like, I mean, I didn't connect. I was like, oh yeah, kind of familiar. I probably couldn't have named anything I've seen him in. So does that count? And maybe I've seen that Pope before. Like, maybe I knew him, had seen him in the news when he was a cardinal. Okay. But yeah, I think, good. Pope, we got, I was reminded of like Harry Potter when Harry got sorted into Gryffindor. And the Gryffindors are like, we got Potter. We got the Pope, man. That's how I feel. I like the USA. I think we deserve a Pope.
But I find that interesting because, like, you don't strike me as someone who cares particularly about the papacy. You saw his speech and it was like, ugh, religion stuff. It's like...
I mean, it's a pretty cool mascot.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife is Catholic also. So when are we going to get, speaking of, like, distant things, in our lifetime, will we see a female Pope?
I don't think so.
Would it be called a mama?
Probably not.
I saw people were spreading conspiracy theories that the Pope is trans. So
I mean, he's liberal or something.
yeah, he has a female skull. So integrating what's that? Skulls
Phrenology?
phrenology. Yeah.
What's phrenology?
It's like the study of like how people's head shape affects what they think. But it was mostly used by like racists back in the olden days to be like, their skulls are lumpy in this particular way, so they deserve to be slaves, and we're basically really good people for enslaving them. That level of like science.
So old-timey pseudoscience.
Because they had like just gotten to the point where they were like, okay, it's like the way your brain is that makes you the way that you are. And then they just used that to like reconfirm what they'd already been thinking.
All right, segue time. So speaking about reconfirming what we're already thinking, as you know, I'm hell-bent on seeing both sides. I haven't yet worked up the guts to actually talk to somebody about why they voted for Trump, but I'm going to. I've decided I'm going to. I want to ask Trump supporters this question, but I also thought, like, well, wait a minute, what would I say to this question too? Like, what would it have taken for me to have voted for Trump instead of Kamala? And honestly, it was very hard to think of something, and so I'm kind of curious. I just wanted to pose that question to you guys, and just see if anything, because like none of us are like in love with Kamala Harris, right? It's not like your idol, right?
Definitely not.
So yeah. So what would it have taken? And if you can't think of anything, like if you're just like what, like not possible. I have some ideas.
I mean, it's definitely possible.
100,000 cool ones, baby. This is the corruption presidency. I want to see some of that coming my way.
Okay, so if someone paid you 500.
Okay. I don't think I would charge that much for my vote, honestly. Since I live in a very safe state, I could sell it pretty cheaply, I think.
Okay.
Oh, well, if you're thinking about it that way, I don't know. I feel like my vote is worth more than that, but it's obviously not.
It's probably a felony to accept payment for a vote, right?
I mean, what if you accept a lottery ticket to, Elon's special lottery? Apparently that's okay.
I mean, anyway, I guess once you have 500K, then you can pay your lawyer to get you out of trouble. Okay, so let's say, that's a good example, right? Or if someone had a gun to your head in the voting booth, maybe that could get you to change your vote. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay,
Sure.
But I mean, all right. So good answers. What about like something about the candidates?
Like actual answers, like policy differences, personality differences, something like that.
Yeah.
Like if she said she was going to start a nuclear war, or said she was going to do something that would probably start a nuclear war, I probably wouldn't have voted for her. She was like, my campaign platform is to invade China with the entire U.S. military.
So that's like, I have seen that as a reason that Trump supporters have provided as why they voted for Trump instead of Kamala Harris. Like, for whatever reason, we're worried that she was going to start World War III.
In Ukraine, right? Because Putin's been threatening to use nukes this whole time. Right. So yeah, I guess you could interpret
that would be a more reasonable thing. I wouldn't put it past like a Trump supporter to think it was like a QAnon thing, like she's going to join Charles Schwab in like starting a satanic rite to nuke the world to please Baal, or like that, like might be that. It could also be Ukraine.
Wait. But so for you though, so like, okay, to turn this into like something that would cut it for you to change your vote. So like if Kamala said like, I think we need to put American troops on the ground in Ukraine. I think that, NATO should retaliate with nuclear weapons against Russia. So like if she said that, then you would have been like, I guess Donald it is.
Probably vote third party.
I consider myself a strategic voter, when it comes to electoralism. Like I for all my sins, pick the lesser of two evils. That's sort of the system we have. If I was convinced that Kamala Harris was going to nuke Russia as soon as she got in office, then I think I probably would have voted for Donald Trump. I don't think he's going to nuke Russia. I think he might accidentally nuke somebody just through sheer incompetence.
Right.
Take a pretty wild policy swing on, something that seems sort of unlikely before I would vote. Most of the issues that I have I see as like problems in America, Trump is way worse for them.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to think of like policy issues where like Donald Trump isn't already taking the side of, evil, like abolishing public education and like food for the poor and like and giving tax cuts to the wealthiest people so they can extract more wealth from the people who need it the most. Like that's it's pretty much across the board. The worst possible option is the Republican.
Yeah, that's interesting. So what if here's one. So what if there was like a leaked video of like of Kamala just like plotting to like, we can pacify the lower classes with like this, we'll boost the food stamps just like so that we can finish the squeezing them out like by whatever, we'll price them out of housing, and then in another decade or so there'll be nothing left. I don't know.
So
does that make sense?
in this scenario, her plan to price people out of housing is by increasing the amount of food stamp aid.
So let me put it like this. So the Democrats often are on the side I agree with, and that they right, well, they want social services and higher taxes on rich people relatively, but they don't seem to get any of that done, right? So they it's almost as if they act like that's what they want, but they just capitulate over and over again to what the Republicans want. And they're of course funded by the oligarchs also. And so what if that's not just their ineptitude and their commitment to incrementalism? What if that is, for her, what if that was the plan? I'll support increasing food stamps and stuff, but it'll all get watered down in the negotiations, and it'll be nothing. Meanwhile, we'll make sure to keep the rules so that we're just increasing inequality year after year.
I think that would just make her equally as bad as Trump. She is perpetuating the system where the Republicans get to do bad things,
I would probably not vote for her in that circumstance. Yeah, I would vote for someone else.
But I thought the question was, what would make you vote for Trump?
Well, yeah.
What good thing? Well, sure. If you're a lesser of two evils voter, and then
right,
not voting for her means voting for Trump.
Yeah, it would take a lot.
Yeah, so I'm really interested in hearing what other people have. It's just it's in theory, there's such a thing as a swing voter, right? Someone who's I could see going either way. It's I don't think it's close for any of us. Yeah, here's an interesting one. Trump has famously talked about how he could shoot a person in cold blood on Fifth Avenue and he wouldn't lose any support. Yeah, so if Kamala shot a man in cold blood on Fifth Avenue,
for no reason, or
I don't know, to prove a point. I don't know.
Honestly, I'm not sure that would change my vote. It probably would, but on one hand, it's one guy, and I think Trump's policies will kill a lot more than one guy. So it feels almost irresponsible to change my vote in that sense. I think I probably would, though, just because of how truly unhinged it is.
Yeah. I mean, we're all pretty worried about Sleepy Joe by the end of his term in terms of his grip on things, and I think if any presidential candidate just murked a guy in cold blood for no reason, I think that any sort of rock or piece of furniture would be a better president than them.
Yeah, right. Even if you're oh, but her policies are so good, yeah, that would definitely
it is
such a huge red flag about her sanity. It's just
sanity. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You can't count on that kind of person for anything. That is the type of person who would start a war for no reason.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that was food for thought, and I'm interested in, I guess I'm not surprised
you feel
you guys...
you're ready?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, hell yeah. Come out.
Oh boy.
Sup, idiots?
Rick, it's good to see you,
Would you like
man.
to introduce yourself for anyone who's unfamiliar with you?
Hey, my name's Rick. A #1 Trump fan, the target and the target audience. What's going on, guys?
Oh, hey, Rick, it's great to see you. Happy Mother's Day.
Oh, yeah, happy Mother's Day.
Congrats, you heard the Pope is American?
Yeah, I love my mom, almost as much as I love yours.
Zing.
Yeah, because I fucked her. What's up?
Okay, thanks, Rick. I had a hypothetical question, which might be a little bit too complicated for you, but I was just curious. What would it have taken...
Hey.
What would it have taken for you to vote for Kamala instead of Trump?
Oh, I mean, that's a tough one. It's obviously, I love all of the Donald's policies so much. I love him getting rid of all the immigrants. I love him giving those, I love those tax cuts. You know how I hate taxes.
Okay, so hold on.
Hold
on. All right, what if there was a video of Donald Trump saying, and a confirmed video, and everyone knew that it was real, you knew it was real, of Donald Trump saying, man, I can't believe all these idiots who think that I'm going to get rid of the immigrants. My whole point is just to scare immigrants and to chase them away from the legal system so they start committing more crimes. If we really wanted to have fewer illegal immigrants, we would have just passed the bill that Senator Lankford and the Democrats negotiated during the Biden term that I was opposed to. What if there was a video where he said that?
I get what you're saying. What if there was a psyop that was meant to make me feel like I should not vote for Donald Trump? Well, I'd just vote for him twice as hard is what I'd say.
Okay, good. All right. Got it.
What if Donald Trump transitioned to a woman? Would you vote for him then? Or her? In that case?
Donald Trump meant transition to a woman? I'd make her my wife is what I'd do. Oh, damn, he's on the...
But would you vote for her
She's
for
on the
president?
market.
It's a lot of cushion for the pushing.
Don't want to misgender my queen. Apologies. Not trying to get canceled here.
Got it. What if he had promised, he said, on day one, I will nuke Russia.
Obviously, the president's entitled to, information that I don't have. So, I guess he's probably got his reasons to nuke Russia.
But don't you think that Russia also has nukes? Do you think they might retaliate in a similarly deadly
Excuse
manner?
me, you seem to care an awful lot about Russians. Is there something you're not telling me? Because I feel like maybe you might be a Russian asset talking about how, we don't want to nuke them.
Yeah, touche. I do have Russian heritage, actually.
That's what I thought.
So it caught me red-handed. Right. How about if someone
Deep
offered
state.
you $500,000 or put a gun to your head? Would you, in either of those cases, would you have voted for Kamala?
500 cool ones?
Yes.
Simoleons? I don't know.
Or did Elon already offer you $1 million to vote the other way?
You know what? I think I'd probably at least gotta, check with Elon, see if I can get a higher price. I think it's the same
Shop it
thing.
around.
I don't want to...
The art of the
I
deal.
want to shill for the other side. But, I don't know. Maybe if it was in crypto, then I might. I do love
All
me
right.
some ETH.
That's been
Some
really
shit coins.
It's been really insightful, Rick. Thanks for answering all these questions.
Yeah, anytime. All right. I'm peeling my face off. Goodbye. Oh!
Sounded bad.
Yeah,
I'm like-
everywhere. Horrifying.
I'm also curious, related question. If you guys think you've ever voted wrong.
Oh, yeah. Big time, dog.
Oh, yeah?
Well, not exactly vote. Well, yeah, definitely voted wrong. But on, state and local measures, it's so hard to get good information about what's going on in your state and local measures. And they're always, so many times I've, read articles about how the voting went and, just found out that, oh, I thought this was, just a kind of standard funding bill for schools, but it was actually just a pissing match between two real estate firms, and the actual text of the bill has nothing to do with schools. It's nuts, man.
Got it. So in ballot measures, you feel like you voted wrong. Is there that real estate pissing match one? Is that an example? You voted yes for it, and
Yeah.
then you found
I
out.
think that was I think I'm referring to a Santa Cruz local one. It was something. I put my name on a petition to rebuild the wharf, because the wharf got swept away in a storm. And it turns out that it was actually a bill intended to go there was already a bill that was going to fund that project, but it was also going to fund some homeless services, and the taxes were going to get taken out of this thing, and then it was gonna mean taking money from selling homes, so real estate agents got mad about it, so they put forward their own bill to that we'll have a runoff against this bill and only one of them can pass, so the real estate agents are pouring a bunch of money into trying to get this. It's
Dude.
so...
The Santa Cruz real estate agents are some sophisticated political players.
Yeah, there's a lot of money in it. There's just a lot of money in this property. So they're pretty vicious.
How about you, Dan?
I don't think so. None jump to mind. I'm sure I have misvoted, but it's in local elections where I didn't follow up enough on it to see how they did afterwards.
Sure.
But as far as presidential elections and stuff, I feel it's never been a super close choice within our lifetime.
Yeah, I was thinking about that one. So one that I feel I voted for the California high-speed rail. I don't think I would vote that way if I could, go back in time or something. Given my information and just the concept, of building a high-speed rail makes a lot of sense. But yeah, given the reality of how it's gone, rather how it's not gone, maybe that was not the right move.
Yeah, pretty reasonable.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard to, like, factor in years of lawsuits into, like, the potential, the bill you're voting on.
Well, but I think that it is, I think it's kind of essential to, like, think about, like, you know, promises versus reality from any political project, you know?
Sure, totally.
Where everyone promises everything. And, yeah, I mean, it's hard when you're not knowledgeable about it. But, yeah, maybe people who were knowledgeable about that kind of thing could have looked at that and said, yeah, this is insane. Like, this price tag is never going to happen.
I still think you should vote for the things you want. Like, you should just also vote for the ways to make it happen. You know, it's a funding thing or a powers thing. That's the barrier there. You should work towards getting that funding or, you know, getting that power.
Right. So with the presidential ones, I was also thinking, I don't think that I've ever thought it was that close. But like and I voted. My first vote was 2008. So yeah, I voted for Obama over McCain, and I think that was probably, in retrospect, the closest one.
Yeah, McCain is definitely sort of a standout good candidate on the Republican side. It's just his VP was a little crazy pants.
Yeah, Palin was awful.
He seems quaint in retrospect.
But yeah, do you think that, right, I was trying to think of, like, but anyway, but both McCain and Romney, like, yeah, now Romney again is like this, like, very sane voice in the Republican Party or whatever. He's quit.
Yeah, what we wouldn't give for a finance school.
Give me the private equity CEO.
Anyway, yeah, that one wasn't that close either.
No. I don't know. I like McCain and Romney. I consider that within my lifetime to be like the more reasonable candidates the Republican Party has put forward. Like, I don't like either of them, but closer to reasonable.
Right. Anyway, that was I don't know what this says. So I guess, so then what should I take away from all this? I guess, so I think I was right. Or I think I'm almost always right, and it would take mountains of contradictory evidence for me to think that I was wrong.
Well, what does that say about me? Like, I'm the only one who was able to come up with an example of me being wrong about my vote.
I think that, right. Well,
I guess, you had the one with the train.
I had the high-speed rail.
Flip-flopper. You're both flip-floppers.
Oh, we're flip-floppers.
Which brings up a question that I was thinking about. So if you were running for president and they found this podcast, would it help your chances or hurt them?
I don't think I've said anything that I wouldn't say on a campaign trail.
Boy.
Whatever.
No, I mean, seriously, though. Like, I like...
Not happening.
Like, if this would have to be the brand I'm bringing. Like, I'm not gonna bring anything else to the table. So this sort of goofiness is what I bring to the table.
Yeah.
If that's going to get me elected as California comptroller, then that's what the people want and need.
Here's a better question, Danny. If all three of us are running against each other for president, then which one of us does this help the most?
The whole podcast or just this segment?
I don't know.
No, the whole podcast, I guess.
Yeah, the whole podcast.
Probably you, because you come off as the most bipartisan, I would say.
Yeah.
You don't think... I mean, Phil does a great Rick.
I'm bipartisan, just I'm also a little bipolar.
Oh man! Any messages for our moms before we call it an episode?
I love you, mommy.
I love you,
I
mommy.
love you, mommy.
We all love our moms.
We all love our moms.
Hard-hitting podcast.
All right, cool. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. If you haven't already liked and subscribed, what the hell is your problem? Please do it, and you'll see us next week.
Bye, mommy.